Welcome to the Dream Journal from the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz. The Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you. The words of Carl Jung, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Beautiful background music created fresh again today by Rick Leffel. From nightmares to lucid dreams, how dreams impact our mental health. Our guest today is IASD President Michelle Carr, PhD. We'll also be talking about the fascinating new world of dream engineering. This is Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. The Dream Journal is also a podcast, so you can look for that on all of the regular podcast platforms, and also on the KSQD website, where we have our archives of 150 shows at ksqd.org/the-dream-journal. So look for the Dream Journal wherever you can find it. And if you feel like clicking on some 5 stars for us on iTunes or leaving a review, we would love that. Thank you. But most importantly, I suggest you talk to your friends about the Dream Journal. It gives you an opportunity to talk about your dreams. And why not find more places to talk about them? There's something about actually expressing the dream that feels like so helpful. It's just so helpful. So I'm going to start with my personal dream work. I had a dream with like a whole bunch of little segments in it just the other night, and I want to focus on just one of them where I am watching kind of a people running around, like playing, a bunch of like teens and 20s people in a field. They're playing some kind of a game. I don't really know what it is. But one of the women is surrounded by a field of bubbles. Like as if there was like soap bubbles, like little soap bubbles coming out, floating all around her. And so I can always tell where she is because of the bubbles. And I see the bubbles everywhere. And I just laugh to see it. I'm like, whoa, that is so cool. So what is that? So as I'm feeling into what it's like to be that woman with the bubbles all around me, there is some way that they do kind of obscure what I'm seeing, where I'm going. And yet there's also this kind of like joyfulness, this kind of like, it's even hard to say, joyfulness. There's like something kind of fun, like, bubbles. When you're a kid, you play with bubbles and they just are fun. They're beautiful, and they kind of distort everything, but in a beautiful way with rainbows, and then they pop. And something about that just feels like what I'm kind of opening up for me these days. All the beauty, the beautiful bubbles that I keep within myself, and I sometimes let out and share with other people by sharing my joys and sharing my gratitudes and sharing my dreams. So why not letting my bubbles out here in a good way now. So bubbles. Okay, I want to say hello to Michelle Carr. Hi.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. I'm so glad to have you on the show. So Michelle Carr, PhD, is president of the IASD, the International Association for the Study of Dreams, and she is a postdoctoral associate in the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Rochester in New York, where she works in the Sleep and Neurophysiology Laboratory. Michelle studies what's happening in the brain and body while we dream and how this influences our waking life. She also studies treatments for nightmares, including lucid dreaming and dream engineering, new techniques and technologies designed to influence dreams to benefit well-being. Michelle Carr writes for Psychology Today and other magazines, and she has a blog on Psychology Today called Dream Factory. And you can find her webpage at thedreamengineers.com. So, Michelle, hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, we had you on the show about a year ago, and at that time we were deep in pandemic lockdown, and as I recall, your laboratory was closed down for a lot of for like 18 months or two. I don't know, how long was it? Are you back in the lab now?
Yeah, it was closed for a while, but we are back in business now. We're running subjects right now, actually, in a lucid dreaming induction study,
Cool.
which is really exciting. Just kind of I don't know, it's a pretty basic, using the traditional cognitive induction techniques to try to induce lucid dreams.
Well, what does that mean? What are cognitive induction techniques?
So these are the techniques developed by Stephen LaBerge in like the 80s, and they mainly are visualization techniques combined with certain behaviors around sleep. So, for example, one sleep technique is to wake up early in the morning, like after 5 or 6 hours of sleep, and you wake up for a period of about an hour, and during that hour you're just kind of mentally kind of rehearsing some intentions to try to have a lucid dream. So you might visualize a recent dream that you had, but imagine becoming lucid in the dream. So imagine that you realize that you're dreaming while you're in it. And, just looking for dream signs. So these are like, normally while we're dreaming, we have no idea that we're in a dream.
Exactly.
Even if something really bizarre is happening.
Right.
So the dream signs,
Uh-huh.
it's like kind of training yourself to recognize, like, if I dream that my cat is talking to me, maybe that's a dream and not real waking life so far.
right. So far, I get that. Well, I must say, when I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, mostly I'm visualizing falling back to sleep.
Yeah. Well, eventually you do want to go back to sleep. You just stay awake for about like an hour, and then you can get back in bed, and hopefully with this kind of mental mindset, that when you fall back asleep, you'll become lucid.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so we're doing that.
Have you had success in teaching people to become lucid that way?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to work about maybe like 30 to 50% of the time. People have a lucid dream. Yeah, it's really, really fun to watch them sleeping in the laboratory, and we can see when they're going into REM sleep and they're potentially having a dream, and we're just like really excited and hoping that they're becoming lucid.
And so of course, if they're in a laboratory, they're more motivated to really work extra hard to become lucid. But that's a very high percentage rate. And so when they go into the REM state, what do you do? How do you then work with that?
For this study, we're leaving it up to them to become lucid. So we're not doing anything specific. We're watching them when they're in REM sleep, and we tell them if they do become lucid. They give us this signal. So they look left and right 3 times with their eyes very quickly.
Okay.
And we can see that because we're recording their eye movement activity. So if they look left, right in the dream because they're lucid, we see it on the actual sleep recording that we're watching. So we can see that they're lucid, and then we wake them up and get a dream report.
I see. Okay, so you wait for them to signal you that they're lucid. And if they just finish out the REM state without becoming lucid, you just go on to the next REM state.
Yeah, we wake them up anyways because we want to get dream reports. And sometimes people, we're curious too about levels of lucidity. So maybe somebody's not fully lucid and remembering to move their eyes, but maybe they still have some level of awareness in the dream. And I think that can still be, for my research aims of using lucid dreaming to treat nightmares, even having a little bit of lucidity is better than being completely non-lucid, I would think. Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. How will you use lucid dreams to treat nightmares? I mean, I guess there's the obvious thing of stopping the nightmare, changing it if you get lucid, but I'm not sure that's all you're talking about here.
Yeah, so the thing with nightmares is they often have recurring themes. So someone might have the same dream of being chased by a threatening figure over and over again.
Yeah.
And people often have feelings of being completely helpless, and they feel completely overwhelmed, and they just feel that there's nothing they can do to get out of this nightmare. And eventually, of course, they just wake up and they feel really just overwhelming distress and helplessness. So becoming lucid, if you're fully lucid in that type of dream, of course you can change how you react. You could decide to fly away, or you could decide to confront the person who's threatening you, try to engage with them in some way. And so that's kind of the idea behind using lucid dreams to change nightmares. But I'm trying to see if just having a bit of lucidity, like some awareness, might help people also, because it's kind of like it's a skill you use in waking life too, right? If you confront a really threatening situation, I mean, it's not really helpful to just feel overwhelmed and helpless and feel like there's nothing you can do. So if you start to feel like there's something you can do, you can maybe control your emotional response, or you can try to just maybe change your behaviors a little bit. So just having some level of agency in dreaming and in waking life, I think, is helpful for people who are dealing with recurring nightmares. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. And do you find that this will come over into waking life? Like, do people then, when they do, like you're saying, when they have feelings of helplessness in waking life, if we can bring some awareness that, of course, it may not actually be a dream. You might ask yourself it's a dream, and it may actually not be a dream. And yet the sense of helplessness and overwhelm can definitely happen in waking life. And do you find that if people work with their dreams this way, that it also carries over into waking life?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's been studied, but I definitely think that that's the case, that when you change your behaviors either in dreaming or in waking life, they both influence each other so much.
Yeah.
So it's more studied the other way, right? That we change our behaviors in waking life, and then you start to see your dreams changing.
Right.
But I'm sure it goes both ways.
I'm sure. I mean, I've certainly observed that I'm not a proficient lucid dreamer, so for me, there's just more regular dreams. But then having like a really special moment in a dream does affect my waking life. And of course, by talking about that dream in waking life, like the thing about the bubbles where, as I imagine myself, like right now, surrounded by bubbles, there's something useful about that, of bringing the dream into waking life just on purpose, to just out of curiosity. Like this was some gift for my psyche, and let's bring it into waking life too.
Yeah, I think that alone can be really helpful for people who have nightmares, just talking about nightmares. And often they're just kind of dismissed, like, oh, it's just a bad dream, but I did a different study where I just did waking dream discussions with people who have nightmares, and a lot of the time, they just appreciated that somebody was listening to their nightmare, asking them questions about it, and kind of taking it seriously, because it's a really impactful experience. And having someone to talk about it with, and maybe looking for looking at the nightmare with a different perspective, and trying to see, is there anything useful that you get out of this? Is there anything helpful that the dream is trying to share? That can kind of change your perspective and make you feel a little bit less afraid of nightmares.
Right. Well, that's one of the kind of the purposes of this radio show, and really of the whole IASD, is to increase the conversation about dreams, and so that dreaming isn't just something that happens in the dark, that we don't, so to speak, that we actually can talk about our dreams with each other, and not put up with nightmares. I've had on as a guest a couple of times Dr. Michael Nadorf, who's very big about nightmares, and he's had some alarming statistics about how people don't pay enough attention to their nightmares, and they think nothing can be done. And so they just keep it to themselves, and there's actually associations between nightmares and suicidality. So this is actually a very serious waking life issue, to pay attention to nightmares. I wanted to get back to something that you said about nightmares, and this reminds me of some conversations I've had with Dr. Nadorf. Is that that sometimes I find I have nightmares that do resolve, and he advocates trying to stay asleep during a nightmare.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And that if you can, then often, well, I don't know if anyone's ever studied the statistics, but certainly it does sometimes happen that for me, that if I'll have this really nightmarish image, that it will resolve and kind of transform into something much more peaceful. Yeah,
that's a great point, because often your immediate reaction to like a nightmare or a bad dream is to kind of want to avoid it, and to, especially if you wake up, then you kind of want to not go back to sleep. You're afraid of returning to the nightmare.
Right.
I actually had that experience recently. I had a bad dream, and I woke up and I was like, you know what? I could just change it. I'll just go back into it and change the ending. I can't remember exactly what it was right now, but it was one of the first times that I've done that. I went right back into the nightmare and just let it play out, and it kind of came to a resolution on its own.
Yeah, there's something about that. Like, that I've heard the conversation around PTSD, and that where the dreaming process is interrupted, and so that we don't get to, dreaming doesn't get to do its work with the work that it evolved to do. Because, we've been dreaming for millions of years. I mean, as far as we know, humans always dream, and they say mammals seem to all have rapid eye movement. We don't know exactly if they dream the way we do, but it seems like they have very similar periods. And so there's something very helpful about dreaming. And so, why not enhance that and let it do its work?
Yeah. Ernest Hartman always called it overnight therapy, the dream. And he worked a lot with nightmare sufferers, too.
Interesting, Ernest Hartman, because I've heard Michael Walker use that term. I didn't realize that it came from Ernest Hartman.
Well, yeah, he used it for sleep more generally, but of course Ernest Hartman was more focused on the dream itself, what it's contributing to the therapeutic function of sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. So we're going to talk a lot more. I want to take a short break here, and we're going to play a little bit of Rick's music. We're going to pot it up in the background, but I wanted to let you know that this is the Dream Journal, and you are listening to KSQUID 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org, and our guest today is Dr. Michelle Carr, president of the IASD. And when we come back, we'll be talking about how dreams impact our mental health, and I also want to talk about dream engineering. So this, again, is the Dream Journal. Okay, this is the Dream Journal, and our guest today is Michelle Carr. You're listening to the Squid, KSQUID 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. And so, Michelle, maybe we want to talk a little bit about, actually, let's start with dream engineering. Like, what has been the latest in that? What have you been working on there? What is it?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a pretty broad term, I think, which is just a group of us kind of dream researchers and engineers and scientists who are interested in developing new tools for people to use to work with their dreams and to influence their dreams and to record dreams. And so things like apps or, there's a lot of like wearable devices now, like headbands that can measure your sleep, and you can try to use them to induce lucid dreams, for example, or I don't know, a bunch of different things.
And so that will like tell you when you're in REM sleep and kind of give you a nudge or something, so you can become lucid. How does that?
Yeah. Okay. So this is kind of, again, based originally in Stephen LaBerge's work, but we've been working with using sensory stimulation to induce lucid dreams. And so the basic idea is that when you're in REM sleep and dreaming, if we, like as experimenters, if we present like a flashing red light in the bedroom where someone's sleeping, then that red light will get incorporated into their dream. So maybe they're dreaming of shopping in a supermarket, and then all of a sudden the lights in the supermarket flash 3 times. And we've trained them before sleep, like if you see this flashing light, it's because you're in a dream, so you become lucid, remember that you're dreaming. So you can use lights, you can use sounds, you can use kind of vibration, tactile stimulation, and so there's home wearable devices now that are supposed to do this for you. So it detects when you're in REM sleep and then provides like a light cue or a sound cue to try to get you to become lucid at home. So
Okay.
So yeah, that's just one example that
Right, right.
kind of fun to use.
Yeah, so the technology, sort of using the technology. I mean, like if I leave my phone by my bed now, it will tell me all the thing about my sleep cycle just laying there, which is very strange.
Yeah.
That it can actually like the fraction of time. I think it even has like cycles, like stages of sleep. On my phone. How does it do that? What is it measuring?
I don't know how. I mean, they all use different things. Like the ones that are just nearby. I mean, some of them are measuring like your body movements, or some of them are. I mean, there's even apps I think that use radio signals to detect what stage of your sleep you're in. I mean, that's all beyond me. That's why the dream engineering community is like a combination of people who are like myself, more traditional sleep laboratory researchers, and then others who are really much more in technology development and things that I don't understand. So, so yeah, I don't know how the apps or the headbands work, but
okay, but it is possible that this technology is being developed. Well, they say, isn't there some? Was it Harlan Ellison said something like that? Technology, when sufficiently advanced, is indistinguishable from magic. Like somebody knows how it works, but it's not me.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, when it comes to like zippers and toilets, I'm a little bit like, it's sort of, I guess I'm not totally sure how they work. Was it Arthur Clarke? Oh, Rick's letting me know it was Arthur Clarke who said that quote about technology and magic.
Yeah.
Okay, apparently so. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay. So it's great. So what are you most excited about in your research? What are you looking forward to? Do you have some things maybe that you have things that are in process? Do you have other things that you would like to do in the future?
Yeah, I mean a ton of things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested in both kind of the psychiatric applications of these types of devices. So I guess I'll give one other example. So kind of using a similar concept, so of sensory stimulation during sleep. There was another recent study that used waking imagery rehearsal therapy for nightmares, which is where you basically, if you have a recurring nightmare, you just rewrite it into a more positive dream, and you visualize yourself having this positive version of the nightmare, and you just do that maybe for 20 minutes while you're awake, and that hopefully just feeds into your dreams. But one group recently tried to pair this with sensory stimulation to kind of enhance the probability that it would impact your dreams. So like while they're doing the waking visualization, they're also hearing this auditory cue at intervals, and then when the person is asleep, the experimenters represent that auditory cue, and it kind of enhances the probability of having this new version of the bad dream, this resolved version. So it's just using technology and sensory stimulation to enhance some of the waking Dreamwork practices we already use to treat nightmares.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool. And I've worked with folks with really intense nightmares and have found this image rehearsal therapy has been effective. And so that would just really enhance it to tie it in with some of these other senses that are then being stimulated during the dreaming.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's also, people, I think one benefit of this type of dream engineering work and making these tools more readily available is just that more and more people will realize that dreaming is something that we can influence, that it's not just something that happens to us, it's something that we can engage with in waking life, engage with using technologies, and kind of maybe people will learn that they have more of a relationship with their dreaming lives than they realize, and I think technologies can kind of just help that.
We spend a third of our life asleep, so this is obviously a very important part of our life, and the dreaming is kind of a really pivotal part of the sleep experience. And there's, as we have if our sleep is shortened, then we actually tend to have fewer dreams, because the dreams do cluster toward morning, so they're not the only thing that happen during dreaming, but they they tend to get cut off if we have a short night's sleep. And we're going to have Ruben Naiman on the show in a few weeks, who's very big, kind of sounding the warning about sleep loss, and that when we lose sleep and we have a short night's sleep, we really have a short night of dreaming, and so we lose the benefits of the dreaming that we would have most richly toward dawn, toward the morning before we wake.
Yeah, I think that's true, yeah. I mean, I'm a late sleeper, so I like to collect all of my dreams. How about you?
No, I'm an early sleeper. It works much better for me if I go to bed, I hate to say, like 9:30. If I can be in bed with the lights off at 9:30, that's like my happy place. But then I wake up really early, and I often collect my dreams in the morning. It's really just noticing what your pattern is and trying to get in your 7, 8, 9, whatever. Yeah. For me, 7's not quite enough. 8 is kind of my happy place. And since I wake up so early that if I don't go to sleep by 9:30, then I have trouble during the day. So that was what works for me.
Yeah, more of a midnight to 9 a.m. person.
Okay, yeah. Well, that works. I try to sleep when it's dark. That's kind of my
that makes sense.
My preference.
Yeah, I do start waking up earlier in the summer with the light, but
yes. So I wanted to you're the president of the IASD. I wanted to just talk a little bit about that. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. It's been almost a year now.
It's been almost a year, that's it. And so we're going to be celebrating that at the conference coming up in July, this Tucson conference, our first in-person conference in 3 years. So if you have cabin fever and you're tired of sitting at home and you want to get out and talk about dreams, because what else do you want to talk about? Then Tucson in July 17th through 22nd, you can find out all about it at iasdconferences.org/2022 and or asdreams.org, might be easier to remember. And we're going to be there. Michelle and I are going to be there, and a couple hundred other of your closest dream friends. All approaching dreams from such different points of view. Like, you're very much a research scientist, Michelle, and I love that. There'll also be art people and people about the culture of dreaming and lucid dreaming, out-of-body experiences, and just so many different ways of approaching. And so you're one of our keynote speakers, Michelle, and you'll be headlining the hybrid research event, which is a research event on the last day of the conference, highlighting all this different research that's been going on around dreaming. I wonder if you want to say a little bit about your presentation or on what's going to be offered that day. My keynote will be focusing on kind of what we've been talking about already. So really just the work I've been doing over the past 10 years now, which has been really focusing on the emotional side of dreaming and how having recurring bad dreams can be related to emotional distress in waking life, and how we can work with our bad dreams to improve both our dreaming lives and our waking lives. And I'm really excited to be kind of the first talk in the Hybrid Research Day, which you just mentioned, which is a really new, it's a new approach from IASD. So we're kind of testing it out this year to allow people around the world to present and to attend our some of our research symposiums. Exactly. So symposia, I guess, and Latin being a weird thing. But so that, because it's only the research team on the very last day. There's this hybrid research event is an online portion of the conference, but it's just a portion, and it's a portion related specifically to research, because traveling is still very difficult, especially from Europe, and we have a lot of European colleagues who are into the research, and so many of those will be presenting by Zoom, and people can attend by Zoom, but only for the last day. If you want to enjoy the conference and get all the workshops and the art show and all the goodies, you got to go in person. But we are testing it out because Zoom is the wave of the future, video conferencing, and so we'll see how that goes this year.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be there in person again, though. I love the workshops, the morning dream groups. I mean, and I'm primarily a researcher, but I love all of the other sides of dreaming too. And it's nice to see people and to meet and to work with people who have other areas of expertise, and to learn different techniques of I don't know, working with dreams and talking about dreams and drawing dreams and performing dreams.
Yeah, so many, writing music about dreams. And, there's so much there. And I'm curious, like, to ask you, before we open up the phones to the callers in about 5 or 6 minutes, we'll be opening up those phones. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about your personal side. As you started to mention, you like to explore some of these things. And I wonder if you could say a little bit about what first got you interested in dreaming. And so you're actually a professional full-time dream researcher, and I love that there are positions like that, but I don't know that I would have been aware of that. That was such a possibility. How did you find out about that, and what got you interested in your dreams?
It is a dream job, yeah. I was always very interested in dreaming, even when I was young, because I had a very vivid dreaming life. I had a lot of, some powerful good dreams, but also I had a lot of nightmares and sleep paralysis when I was younger. And once I was in college is actually when I had my first lucid dream, and it helped me to get out of this state of sleep paralysis that I was suffering with a lot of the time. And I realized that I could, rather than trying to wake up out of sleep paralysis, I could go further into the dream and have these really awesome lucid dream experiences. And I was also, studying psychology and cognitive science at the time, and I was actually in Rochester, New York at the time as well. And I worked in the same sleep lab that I'm in now as an undergraduate research assistant. So all of these things just kind of came together for me to kind of realize that this was what I wanted to, devote my career to, if possible.
Right.
I also didn't know that it was really possible at the time, but I found the IASD, and I emailed a bunch of random members that I found in their directory, and I asked for any advice about, like, how can I work with dreams as a career. And it was through those kind of email conversations with IASD members that they pointed me to, where I ended up doing my graduate degree. And I don't know, the IASD has really just been a big support for me in pursuing this career, providing research grants and student research awards, and I don't know, it's just been very supportive. So so far successful.
Yes, and they have online dream kind of introduction to how to work with your dreams programs that are offered as well. And so now that you're president, you must get to see quite a bit more of the behind the scenes work of the IASD.
Yeah, there's just so much that goes into it, so many different committees, and as we were saying, there's a lot devoted to science, like the grants and the student research awards, but then there's, a huge arts committee and a lot of publications. We've got the magazine and the journal.
Right.
There's just so much going on all the time, and it's really incredible.
You're listening to the Dream Journal. My guest today is Michelle Carr, PhD. And her webpage is thedreamengineers.com. And you are listening to K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. My name is Catherine Bell, and we'll be right back. This is the Dream Journal. My name is Catherine Bell, and you're listening to K-Squid 90.7 FM, streaming live at ksqd.org. Our guest today is Dr. Michelle Carr at University of Rochester. I was curious, Michelle, about your dream blog at Psychology Today. You have a blog called The Dream Factory. I wonder if you want to say a little bit about that. What kind of things do you publish there?
So I mainly just review kind of recent research, recent studies in dreaming, whatever is coming out. I mean, I found I've been keeping the blog for about, I guess I can't remember, 7 years now? That's crazy.
Yeah, that is.
And I noticed, I think the rate at which, dream science publications are coming out is much higher now. I think a lot more sleep researchers are starting to publish and including dreaming in their research, and there seems to be a lot more interest and support for the field. So there's a lot to report on, and I just try to translate what scientists are finding and put that out into the general public.
And how often do you publish?
Oh, I go through phases. I try to do it once a month, but I've had a bit of a hiatus because of other deadlines. But I'll definitely be publishing some more over the summer. Yeah.
So what are some of the highlights? Like, what are some of the most interesting new things that you've been finding out about?
So a lot of studies, I'd said that a lot of sleep researchers are starting to look at dreams, and for those groups, they tend to be studies looking at the role of sleep and dreaming in memory, and in learning. So if we're learning how to do a new task, like you might use like a virtual reality task to give participants, and if we're learning how to do a new task, what parts of sleep are important for learning, and does the content of our dreams actually influence how well we learn something? So I gave the example of VR. There was a recent study that used this kind of flying task in a virtual reality environment, and then found that people were having dreams of more of these, like, sometimes flying dreams, or sometimes just dreams with weird bodily sensations, or dreams of floating or falling, or weird gravity dreams, and that seemed to correspond with how well they performed on the task after sleep. So just kind of this evidence that what we dream about is actually related to the information that we're learning during sleep, and how it impacts our waking performance.
Okay, so is that somewhat like what they call the continuity hypothesis, that the things that are happening in waking life kind of bleed over into the dreams? Yeah,
it definitely is related to that, and I guess it's trying to discern, what types of things from waking life are more incorporated into dreams, and can we maybe use that to our advantage. So if I want to get better at something, should I try to dream about practicing it?
Interesting. Yeah, because there is something about that. People will often say, "Oh, well, that was just day residue. That's something I saw yesterday." But I'm always thinking, like, yeah, but you saw like thousands of things yesterday.
Yeah.
Why did that one particular thing show up in your dream?
Yeah.
And so that to me always seemed like very important to keep in mind. And we had a guest a couple of weeks ago who it's Janet Maggio, who said that we usually, when we dream about something that we saw in waking life, that there's a discrepancy, that something has changed a little bit. And her idea was that the change is the psyche's comment on that waking life event. I thought that was an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, because so often something will show up in our dreams, but it's different.
Yeah, almost always.
Yeah, exactly, almost always. So, in fact, in the cases where it is identical, that's usually some kind of thing really dysfunctional, like in PTSD with, veterans or people who have survived car crashes, that they relive the traumatic experience, like exactly, and that's like as if the experience is not being digested. It's just whole, like stuck in your craw almost. Yeah.
We did a related study recently here, looking at exactly what you're talking about, which memories are incorporated and when and why. And we woke people up 12 times during the night, and different times of night, different stages of sleep, to get dream reports, and then had them do the task of trying to identify any memory sources, so anything in the dream that they could relate to a recent or a more remote memory. And what we're seeing, and a couple other groups have seen this as well, is that early in the night, it seems like you incorporate a lot more recent memory traces. So just things that happened yesterday, might even be really insignificant things, like I saw a container in the store yesterday and it was in my dream,
Right.
And to me, it almost just seems like the dream is just using that material to create the dream environment. It's just kind of creative material. But then later in the night, people incorporate a bit more of these remote memory sources. So something that happened to them a few months ago, or maybe they dream of somebody that they went to high school with, So just kind of more, maybe just a broader incorporation of their autobiographical events. I don't know.
Digging deeper in the memory or something. But then there's dreams like the dream I described this morning. was one of where just before I say the dream, I just going to say the phone is available, 831-900-5773. I thought I heard a little something, but no. Maybe it was on the psychic level. But I've been having dreams lately where there's almost no recognizable material from waking life. Like this dream with the bubbles, where the bubbles are all around me. There were other scenes, like there was a wedding, there was like a scramble over cooking a meal. And there was nobody recognizable, except there was one person who was like the combination of two people from very different eras in my life. But that was it. Otherwise, everything seemed to be fresh.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what that is or what that means. So there's, if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm reflecting. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And that was a dream you had in the morning, right?
Yeah, it was a morning dream. Yeah. I woke up with it. Right.
Yeah. I don't know. With the people from two areas of your life, do you see any connection between them?
Well, yes. One is my son and one is my brother, and my younger brother, who I grew up with as a playmate, and so there is kind of a similarity there in that they are kind of young male playmates in a way. So there is some combination there of that's something a little bit archetypal, perhaps, of the masculine, young masculine energy there. But then the rest of the scenes were definitely nothing recognizable from waking life.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting, and I'm not sure what does it mean?
It's really interesting because it's like we don't know how to even study that, right? Because it's like we know how to study things that we do recognize from waking life, but how could I study? Where is it from then? Is it just completely creative? It's completely novel, or Yeah.
Interesting.
It's interesting.
Well, there is also, the fact that the basic building blocks are familiar. Like there was, like in a wedding, there was a church, and that's like a familiar thing from my Christian upbringing. So there were like elements, and there was like a playing field that was like from high school or something that didn't look like the high school playing field, but was like a generic playing field. But that the whole concept of a playing field is cultural. And so the building blocks are definitely part of my experience.
Yeah, it's kind of more just like a generalized memory that you're drawing upon. Just, our knowledge of what the world is like for us.
Exactly. And I'm thinking that if somebody was raised on a space station or something, or an asteroid, or who knows, they would not know these concepts of church or playing field. It would be the airlock or something, the mining machine, whatever it was that was in part of their life. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I wonder if I could just ask you, Michelle, what have you been dreaming about lately? Do you do you work with your own dreams as well on the kind of psychological level, or do you follow them, write them down? I imagine you're interested in lucid dreaming, so you're probably working with that. Yeah,
I sometimes record my dreams. I dream almost every night, and I definitely like the ones that seem bigger or more more charged, I tend to record those and just tell them to my friends. I have a lot of dreamy friends, so
right.
I'm sharing them a lot. And I work with them sometimes, let's see. I did have a really powerful dream recently. And it started I've had a lot of IASD dreams, conference-related dreams lately. But this one started I was with a group of people that I knew were all from the dream community. It was some kind of gathering. It was some of my, dream friends, and it was some people from IASD. But I just had this sense that we were at, this kind of pleasant, joyful gathering. Maybe the conference.
It's precognitive, that's it.
Yeah. But I remember I noticed that there was this, I think kind of the sun, a white light in the corner of my eye. And I was like, I wonder what that is. And it was kind of like beckoning me. But it was also a bit like I felt nervous to look directly at it. But then I did, and I just had this like flashing bright light experience where I felt like I wasn't even there anymore. The dream was just extremely bright, pulsating white light, and it just felt like intense energy, and that was it. It was just like this whooshing, flashing energy. And then I woke up.
Interesting. Like that feeling. Wow.
Yeah, it was a very intense feeling. I've never had that intensity of kind of energy feeling before. It definitely made me more energized that day.
Interesting. Like I'm thinking of the Eugene Gendlin concept that dreams are like pictorial representations of new feelings, something new.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have such a limited vocabulary of feelings as human beings. Like we have the happy, sad, mad,
right.
Whatever there's so many more.
There's so many more ways to feel things, and that's true. It was very new for me, but now I feel like now I have that feeling, so I could have it again in waking life. I don't know. Yeah,
there's something like that for me. That's one of the ways that I actually work with my own dreams, like this thing with the woman with the bubbles all around her, that I can imagine that I have bubbles all around me, and like that feeling, whatever that feeling is, it has a name, but the name is, it's like I've got bubbles all around me.
Oh, yeah. I do that too. One particular one that I use a lot, I had this dream of being in a dark, quiet cave.
Oh.
And it was really calming, actually. Kind of, it wasn't scary at all. It just felt so still and calm. And so now I use that sometimes. If I'm feeling nervous or something, I just imagine being back in that dark, quiet cave.
I love
it
that.
kind of calms me.
I don't know if you study emotions per se, but there's a book by Lisa Feldman Barrett that's really changed the way I think about emotions, called "How Emotions Are Constructed," she talks about the idea that humans actually that there is no circuit, like the kind of standard. Way of thinking about emotions is like that your body has a happy circuit, and then it has an angry circuit, and there's like a certain constellation of sensations or bodily states that is angry or fearful. But she argues that we're actually just bringing together, we're just kind of interpreting the information we're getting from our body, and it's highly culturally defined. And that there are some cultures, I think it's one of the island cultures, of the Indonesian island cultures, that does not have a word for sad.
Oh, wow.
There is just, they don't see that, it's not a concept. It's like, yes, I felt I felt tired, or I felt, it's different. And so she argues that the way to enrich your experience as a human is to diversify your experience, your feelings, your names for feelings, your experience of feelings. And what better way to do that than dreaming?
Yeah.
Because each dream has such a unique feeling involved.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept.
Yeah.
Do we have to develop more language for the feelings, or can we just...
Well, it's helpful. It's helpful. She argues that it's helpful. She's a research scientist. She does a lot of lab work with people, and she finds that people who have more words for emotions have more rich inner lives, and they actually have better experiences of life. That many people only have a dozen emotion words that they use during the day, but if you expand the words, that it kind of helps you recognize the different shades of emotion, apparently. And there's certain concepts that we've even invented, like Schadenfreude. Who ever heard of Schadenfreude 10 years ago, right? Oh, now we all know that's the joy in someone's misfortune, right? And so we get to have that as a feeling experience. So it's a word that's entered the culture.
Yeah, I think there's also, we kind of have defined that certain emotions are bad and are negative, and so we don't like experiencing them. And I think you can change that too, that perspective. You can kind of say, well, this is, slightly uncomfortable, but it's not negative. It's, you can explore it more. Even like excitement it feels very similar to like anger, but one of them we just think it's negative, so we don't like it.
Right. Well, there's that old phrase that excitement is fear that's learned how to breathe. There's it's kind of like a trite little thing, but it's true that the bodily sensations are very much the same, very similar. Excitement and fear, they're kind of an arousal, state of an arousal, and so if we can not take our what would it be? Not take our feelings so literally, like not to keep ourselves locked into the happy face, sad face, like the little circles, or emojis, all the different emojis.
I wonder if emojis are giving us more rich emotional concepts, because there's so many of them now, and you know, like, exactly what they mean. You know?
It's true. Just these little lines in a circle can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And there's something though that dreams just really touch into that experience of being human, the sense of the feelings that we have. That I wonder if Lisa Feldman Barrett would ever want to study dreams that way, to see this. She and Eugene Genling could get together.
The language of dreams.
Yes, it is pretty amazing. It's definitely richened my life for sure.
Yeah,
these dreams.
Mine too.
All right. So, Michelle, is there anything else that we haven't covered that you want to talk about? We have just a few minutes left. I'm wondering if there's any particular topics or what's fresh in your mind that you'd like to say.
I don't know. What are you presenting at the conference? I can turn it around on you.
Oh, well,
what are you going to be presenting on?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I am leading a morning dream group, and I am also giving a workshop on dreams as a treasure hunt. And that's so often we kind of focus on the negative parts of dreams, because, you know, you wake up scared and you're like, I'm going to write that one down. But what about those good dreams? Let's notice the good dreams and write them down. And even in the scary dreams, the nightmare dreams, the bad dreams, I often find that there is some moment during the dream where there is help being offered, or there's some moment of beauty. This is something that Dr. Leslie Ellis is very big on as well, and she's going to be on next week, in fact. But this finding the help in the dream, looking for the good moments. Even people with intense nightmares, if they start to notice that there are moments that there is help is being offered, moments of beauty and peace, then that makes us more comfortable to go to sleep, and actually helps us to pay attention to and kind of have a conversation with the more difficult things that are valuable, but they're difficult. And so let's look for the helpful things as well. So that's Dreams as Treasure Hunt. That's going to be on my workshop. And in the morning dream group, I'll be exploring similar things. I do a kind of embodied dream acting, and so we're going to take one dream each morning and act it out, but we'll be also looking for the good moments in the dreams. So thank you.
I love that. Yeah, paying more attention to the positive side of dreams, for sure.
Exactly. It's kind of like a gratitude practice, but in your dreams.
Yeah.
And we all know there's like a great benefits in gratitude practices. So excellent. Okay, so I want to give some contact information. How can folks get in touch with you, Dr. Carr, if they want to ask some questions or find out about your sleep lab?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always happy to be contacted by people, so don't shy away from that.
Great.
I think my email is kind of confusing, but I think it's listed on my Psychology Today blog, or there's a contact button through there that goes directly to my email as well, which is easier.
Okay.
So the Dream Factory Psychology Today blog would be a good place to find my bio and a place to contact me. Okay, so go to psychologytoday.com and look for Dream-Factory. So I know we'll look for Dream Factory. Okay, and so do you have any final words, Michelle? Something that you would like to leave our listeners with, maybe some encouragement or that kind of thing? Encouragement. Yeah. I think just, let's just paying attention to dreams and working with bad dreams. I like what you said about finding the help in our bad dreams and our good dreams, and just creating a more positive relationship between our waking and our dreaming selves. And I hope everyone who can join us in person at the conference. I'm really, really looking forward to being in the dream community, in waking life again.
In waking life, in the flesh.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Michelle Carr, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
I am Catherine Bell. This has been the Dream Journal. Thanks for listening. You can find out more about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. And you can email me at catherine@ksqd.org, KATHERINE @ksqd.org. Do contact me. I'll sign you up for a free introductory dream consultation and put you on my email list. I'd like to thank Rick Kleffel, Tony Russimano, Eva Milady, The outro music is Everything by Mood Science, and thank you to the donors who support this station. We couldn't be here if you weren't here. So if you go to ksqd.org, show us a little love and be sure to tell them you are a Dream Journal listener. When you wake up tomorrow morning, take a minute to look within. Do you remember a dream? Write it down and bring it to the next Dream Journal. I am Catherine Bell, and you're listening to KSQD Santa Cruz.
All the husbands and wives, all the boys and the girls, and everyone in the world knows that so much is wrong, but much more is right.